Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll be taking a look at Thermaltake's P6 TG in turquoise. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so in today's video we'll be taking a look at Thermaltake's P6 TG in turquoise, if you're possibly colourblind. It does actually come in a range of other colours, so there is a white version, a black version, the turquoise one, and also there is a green version as well, which I guess is racing green or British racing green. They hate it when I say that, so I'm going to say it anyway. But it is effectively a green case. I'll put some links in the video description below so you can see what they are actually like. And we'll also take a look at the Thermaltake site a little bit later so you can see some other features and some of the exploded diagrams, because realistically, I can't do it justice. I really can't. Now this is a £200 case here in the UK at the moment, at the time of filming. You get a lot for your money, you really do. And if you're into kind of custom builds and maybe you're not sure whether you want to do maybe a completely open setup, maybe a wall mount, something like that, or you just want a more traditional style look, like it is from the box, then this has got you covered. Tons and tons of flexibility, pretty much everything comes apart. There's a ton of tempered glass if you like that tempered glass look. If you don't like tempered glass, then you can simply remove it all. You don't have to worry about a thing. Thermaltake have got you completely covered with what is essentially a completely modular chassis. So if you just want to use literally just the back section and the front I/O, you could do that if you want to. They would obviously like you to use as many parts as possible because otherwise it's a little bit wasteful, but certainly you can change and swap things around, which when you're spending this sort of money on a case, I think it's actually a really good idea, because if you get bored of it, it's a lot of money to invest in a case, but with this, so much flexibility. If you get bored, you can just say, oh, actually, what the heck, I'm just going to put in 3 360mm radiators and do a complete water cooling loop if you want to. Or you can go nuts and put in 10 fans and just have an air-cooled setup. The choice is literally up to you. So today we're going to go through, do a quick teardown of the case, which probably won't be very quick because there's so much to tear down. I am actually going to do a full build in this. Actually, I'm going to transplant all the stuff in the PC behind me into here and yeah, basically see what it looks like and see what some of the temperatures are like. Essentially, doing temperature tests in this kind of setup is kind of pointless really, because it is essentially an open air case, although there is glass on there. There's plenty of ventilation and filtration on the case. So yeah, temperature tests are probably not really the best thing to do. And obviously most people will probably custom fit either radiators or certain types of fan configurations. So your mileage will definitely vary. So let's start off with taking this thing apart. And actually, I'm not going to go the whole hog. I'm not going to take it down to literally nuts and bolts and bits of steel. We're just going to take it apart a little bit so you can get a good idea of what it's actually all about. So to start with, obviously removing the tempered glass panel on the front is really easily done on these nice thumb screws. When you've undone the last of the thumb screws, do be careful, because although the glass is supported on these little plastic feet here at the bottom, it will fall out a little bit, and because of the weight of it, it probably snap the plastic off. So do make sure you support it. As you can see, there are rubber grommets, and also there is a very light smoke tint to the glass. So there we go, with the side panel removed, we can now see inside a little bit more, and this is suitable for ATX, micro ATX and ITX motherboards, should you wish to. Plenty of pass-throughs, obviously, down to the kind of modular design of it. There's cutouts absolutely everywhere. So starting off, we've got these ones here with rubber grommets on, which is nice for cable management purposes. There's also cutouts all along the top section for passing cables through for your numerous fans, etc. You've also got pass-throughs here, so if you are using an ATX or micro ATX motherboard, you can pass cables through there. But if you are using extended ATX, then you can potentially pass things through. It isn't certified as being eATX, as that is a very weird standard anyway, in various shapes and sizes, but certainly potentially you could do, but it may interfere on this side section. But there's loads of pass-throughs down the bottom behind this power supply semi-shroud, so you can pass cables through there. That was something that I was concerned about when I first looked at this, thinking, well, the cutouts are there, the motherboard standoffs are there, so we're going to have to run cables kind of through and down, but that isn't the case. You can actually get to them from around the back, which you'll be seeing some footage of, so no problems with that whatsoever. Cable management wise, this is going to be an absolute dream because it is so very open. Now you do have this power supply basement shroud here, which is like a semi-shroud, so this is just going to cover the bulk of it and some of the cabling. You can, of course, if you want to, because this is completely modular, you can remove this in its entirety, as you can with pretty much every single panel. They do include in the accessories box a individual mounting for the power supply and various other things, support brackets, that kind of stuff. So again, if you want to just Take all this out and just have a bare power supply. If you've got a particularly nice one, you can show it off to its best light. Trying to figure out where to start with this is actually a nightmare because there's so much going on here. So let's take a look at some of the fan mounting placement areas. So at the back of the case, we've got a mounting area for a single 120mm fan, or obviously the 120mm radiator should you wish to. At the top, there is a mesh section for filtration, which is removable, nice and easy. Quite a nice open mesh as well to let a lot of airflow through, so that's awesome. You can at the top mount a 360mm radiator or 3 120mm fans or 2 140mm fans. There is a small gap between the actual glass top panel, which again is removable should you wish to have it more open, but there is a really nice gap around the side, so it's not going to have difficulties breathing. Moving down to the rear side, so this rear section here, we can put in 3 120mm fans, 2 140mm fans, a 360mm radiator, or a 240mm should you wish to, all those kinds of things. I will link in the video description as well, also all the fan and radiator mounting positions, so if you want to be exactly sure, then you can find out from there, or of course let us know in the comment section below and I will answer all your questions. Moving towards this front section, so we've got a nice big cutout here as well. Yet again, another 360mm radiator can be positioned in there, or a 280mm, 240mm, 120, etc, etc. Or if you want to, 3 120mm fans, or 2 140mm fans. Moving down to the bottom section, so this is where it gets a little bit more complicated due to obviously how you're going to set it up. With it in its kind of default configuration from the factory, you can potentially get 3 120mm fans in this bottom section. If you remove this section and the power supply shroud, you could put in a 360mm radiator, although on the website they do say a 240 or 280 is pretty much the maximum. Again, your mileage may vary. If you're looking at doing 3 360mm radiators in here, which is kind of crazy, but you potentially could do, you will need to remove a lot of this substructure. Talking of removing substructures, there's a lot of things you can remove, like I said. So there is a SSD mount on the top of this power supply bracket, so nice and easy to remove all those kinds of things. There is also a vertical GPU mount section here as well. You can move the PCI Express blanking plates at the back. You can twist them around 90 degrees for vertical GPU mounting. There isn't a vertical GPU mounting cable included in the box, but all the other mounting hardware is supplied, and literally just a matter of taking out some screws from the back there, twisting that round. Again, very simple to do, and it's fully adjustable for this bar, so depending where you want to put the graphics card, maybe if you're water cooling it and you want it to be a little bit further forward, you certainly can do, or if you've got potentially a triple width GPU, then you can move this bracket further back. Again, very flexible in that regard. Talking of modularity, at the bottom here, so we have actually got a mount for a pump or pump res combo, so that comes out nicely. Again, all nicely finished in this really nice turquoise pattern. I'm not entirely sure if I like the turquoise, I'll be honest with you. I would have preferred it if it was more kind of Mike's Unboxing blue, but yeah, you can't have it all. But certainly, I think it's actually a really different design. The look of it is very, very different, and it certainly beats those kind of boring beige, black or white boxes. So definitely thumbs up in that regard. Of course, with this pump, you can actually mount it either further back or further forward. There's a little bit of adjustment on there, so you can have a lot of flexibility with that. Again, if you take that out, there's going to give you more rooms for radiators, fans, etc, however you want to set it up. Also in this bottom section, there is, as most places on this case, there is another magnetic mesh filter. So if you want to stop some of that dust coming in, you certainly can do. With the dust filtration, I guess it does kind of make sense where they positioned it, because it's going to be where your fans are, which is going to be the main kind of intake or exhaust of air and obviously particles. Realistically, because it is actually quite an open chassis and there's a lot of air gaps around all the glass, obviously from time to time you are going to have to dust this thing out, but certainly those removable filters will help in that regard. Moving down to the bottom of the case, being as we've just removed the mesh filter, so you can see here some wiring. There is all the mounting area. Again, there's a really nice gap between this section and also the main kind of support structure. You can, of course, if you want to, you can mount fans on the bottom side, on this side, or if you want to, you can mount them on the inside, again, depending on your configuration. If you, for some reason, want to put a 360mm radiator, you could do on the underneath side and put the fans on the inside. Again, there's tons and tons of flexibility, more than what I would ever get to use, or at least for the foreseeable. Something else which is actually quite a nice little feature, they've actually put cutouts here and pass-throughs. So again, if you are putting fans on this outer side, you can just put the cables through nice and easily to get access to the motherboard, etc. at the back, which we'll take a look at next. Okay, so looking at the back side of the case, so you see we've got the ventilation area here for where you may have your radiators, fans, etc, etc. There is a magnetic mesh filter in there as well. This is the rather interesting part. So if you do want to have this as a wall mounted PC, as a show PC, then this is a VESA mounting section. So there's the 75 holes, the 100 holes and the 200 by 100 setup. So if you do want to get a monitor arm or that kind of thing to actually mount this on a wall, you certainly can do, and that is the supported sizes. It's actually held on at the top, and that screw as well. So there is a lip on the top, which kind of hooks over the top to keep it in place. And as you can see there is the removable magnetic filter, yet another one. Nice to see that they've actually done the turquoise actually on both sides as well. So if this panel is visible from the inside, then you can still see some of that nice turquoise colour shining through. So now looking in the back section, you can see there's some really good thought and attention actually gone through the whole process of making this case. So in terms of keeping things nice and tidy, obviously if you're not having the entire surround, all the cable management is done nice and neatly down there and tapers around very easily. And they've deliberately done it so it leaves this area nice and open, nice and clear. Again, this is where your radiator or your fans are going to be, so that is awesome. Glad they thought of that. And there's actually pass-throughs on the side as well. So tons and tons of cable management. You've got pass-throughs at the top here, and these are specifically rounded off with nice rounded off inserts in them. So that's really good, so no cut fingers. Looking also, you can see the support structure. So we've got these in 4 corners. And if you do want to split the case down a little bit more, take away some of these extra panels on the top side, etc, etc, just a few screws, you can take all that apart if you want to. Again, I probably won't do, but for those that want to, certainly is an option. So moving down, we've got some hard drive brackets here, so you can put on here 3 SSDs or 2.5-inch drives, or 2 mechanical drives, 3.5-inch, 2 of those included, and those are again removable. They are on thumb screws, which I've tightened up way too tight, and then the drives just come out, and these are actually very, very solid pieces indeed, as is pretty much all the construction on this. So this gives you a lot of access to the back of your CPU area for water blocks, that kind of stuff. So very nice, very well thought out. This bracket here is, again, extremely solid, and that is for your VESA mounting. So that is bolted directly to the chassis. Again, if you want to, if you're not going to be using this, you can actually remove that should you wish to remove some weight. Or alternatively, you could use that for some more hard drive storage should you wish to. Although I don't think you need to, because you can get another 3 SSDs down here or another 2 3.5-inch drives. So you can actually really go to town and populate this like crazy with tons and tons of drives. There's also loads and loads of room down here for cable management. So if you are putting all these types of fans in and radiators, and you've got all these additional accessories such as RGB controllers, fan hubs, fan controllers, all that kind of stuff, it's going to be really easy to find somewhere to stick them. So yeah, awesome stuff. So now let's take a look at the back of the case. So again, you see this is the mounting section for the 120mm fan. You've got your traditional I/O cutout there for the motherboard. You've got the PCI Express blanking plates, which are obviously removable and replaceable, and just 4 screws. You can take all that out and twist it around 90 degrees for your vertical mounting. At the bottom, you've got the power supply section, so you can take this out, attach it to your power supply, and then put it back in. I'm not entirely sure why they've done that. I would normally like to see just a power supply that you just bolt straight in, but I guess because of the fact you could potentially remove all of this, you might want to use that bracket in some other way. There is, like I said, there is an additional bracket, so you can mount the power supply in directly to this chassis on the back, so you can remove this section here pretty much in its entirety, get rid of all of this stuff, and you can just have the power supply attached to the main back part of the chassis. It's pretty incredible. So let's take a look at the top section now. So again, another piece of tempered glass. Yeah, there's another piece. There's a lot of glass in here, and actually a lot of weight as well. It's actually killing my hand. Anyway, so on this top section, you can mount 3 60mm radiators, 3 120mm fans, 2 140mm fans, all that kind of stuff. And again, depending on how you want to set it up, they have had these extra holes in there. So if you want to pass through cables, or you have some sort of reservoir emptying device or fill ports, that kind of stuff, potentially you could work that into there somehow. The glass, again, can be removed in its entirety should you wish to. So now moving around to the front panel, again, same deal. So 3 60mm radiator, 3 120mm fans, 2 140mm fans, 2 80mm radiators, etc, etc. Removable glass panel, should you wish to. There is something about this glass panel which is really annoying me, and I'm not too sure what it is. Maybe it's because I've still got the plastic on it or something, but if you've noticed that squeaking throughout the video, I do apologise, but yeah, I'm not too sure why it does that. Normally, obviously, it's not going to be moving, so it's not going to do anything, but It is squeaking for some reason, and I don't know why, and it is annoying me. Anyway, moving on. So what doesn't annoy me is actually the I/O on the front. So we've got some really decent I/O on here. So you've got your nice clicky power button. You've also got hard drive LED and power LED, all that kind of stuff. You've got two USB 3.0 ports, followed by two USB 2.0 ports. Then we've got a USB Type-C. Then you've got your headphone and your microphone jacks. And then followed up, we've got our reset button. Now, something I like about this, actually, some people say, well, you shouldn't really have USB 2s on the front. But actually, depending on what devices you're using, you may actually find that that is really super helpful. There are quite a lot of joysticks or controllers on the market, which if you plug into a USB 3 port, they don't work properly. Now, I found this quite a lot recently, especially on various cases I've been testing with certain joysticks. Some of them just don't like USB 3.0 ports, and it's not down to just Thermaltake, it seems to be across the board on various cases that I've tried. So having the USB 2 ones as a bit of a fallback, I think is actually a really handy thing to have. So obviously, due to what we've got front panel I/O wise, obviously we've got the corresponding connections for it. So we've got our USB 2.0 header, there is our USB Type-C header, there is a HD audio connection, we've got a USB 3.0 header, and also you've got your traditional front panel connectors, power switch, hard drive LED, etc, etc. So I think that's pretty much it. There's so much to go over on here. Again, if you want to have a very exploded view of what exactly comes apart, then please do head over to Thermaltake's website. I will be linking that in the video description below. And also there'll be some Amazon links and some UK stores as well. So if you want to pick one up, if you're happy already and you just want to smash that buy button, then feel free to do so. But we're going to stop right now. I'm actually going to transfer all the parts in the PC behind me into this and see how easy it is to build him. So we'll be back after that. Okay, so we're back, and as you can see, it's all built and relatively pain-free. I've got to be honest with you, there are a few little things which I found a little bit troublesome. First of which is the PSU shroud. For me personally, I would have liked for it to have been a little bit longer to hide some of those cables. And depending on the angle that you're actually viewing the case on, obviously at the moment, as you can see, we're viewing it from a kind of off-axis angle, so you can see what's going on in there. Obviously, with the case being flat on, it doesn't show at all, and you can hide things away quite nicely. Also, because of the distance between the power supply and also the top EPS connector up in the very top here, my power supply was actually too short, so I had to use some cable extensions, which you can see, so that's worked out okay in the end, but obviously do check, make sure that your power supply has a long enough EPS connector. Other things as well to look out for, because again, this is actually quite a big chassis. We're looking at around about 22 inches high by about 21 inches deep. It's quite big. So depending on the fans you're using, now I'm using some Arctic fans here. Obviously use whichever fans you want to, but even with these, the cables are actually a reasonable length, but I did find struggles trying to get them to go down through the back channel, back through and then into the motherboard. So they have actually been daisy chained, which I don't always like to do, but certainly it worked in this particular instance. But again, just something to be aware of. If you are planning to buy this case and you are looking to put a lot of fans in there, then you might want to get some cable extensions for those fans as well. Also, just to make cabling a little bit easier. Other than that, very, very straightforward. The motherboard that I'm using on this one, which is the MSI Gaming Edge B550, where the USB 3.0 header is actually on the board, is in a very strange position. So you may find, again, depending on your board, you might want to get one of those USB 3 kind of right angle adapters, because those USB 3 connectors are awful, big chunky things, and it just didn't look nice there. So I've actually left it disconnected at the moment, which is a shame, but yeah, your mileage will obviously vary depending on the motherboard you put in there. But looking at the positives, tons and tons of room to work with, even with all the cabling going on, cable extensions, etc. Very easy to cable manage in the back here. Also, again, getting access to everything, actually getting a 360mm rad to just plop into that section in there, it went in very, very easily. Sadly, because of the way that the cabling is for this particular AIO, we couldn't put it with cables down or pipes down, which I would have preferred to have done. But yeah, it is what it is. But that isn't a fault of the case, that is the actual cooler itself. I think it's actually a really nice case, really nice to build in, very easy to do. It is heavy, so do be warned. Actually, I think the whole thing, when you get it in the package, just the case alone is somewhere in the region of about 20 kilos. So it is quite heavy, but it is extremely sturdy. Now I did find out that the squeaking that we were experiencing a little bit earlier with the glass panel here at the front, it still is doing a little bit, but it did seem to be as if it was doing it more so because of the plastic which was covering the glass, which I've now removed. So yeah, little things like that would have been nice to have seen some, maybe a rubber dampener or something on the glass, but again, it's very minor. You're unlikely to be rocking the case around and making it move and actually creating that noise. So yeah, it is what it is. Taking it apart, very simple. All I had to do is undo a couple of screws there to remove this cap and that cap there, and then the glass will slide out and then you can gain access to do maintenance, fans, etc, etc. So yeah, overall very nice. The biggest thing about this is the fact that the temperatures are amazing. Now I'll show you on screen now some of the temperatures. This is just hardware monitor running. This room is around about 23, 24 degrees at the moment, and the whole system is idling in the kind of mid-20s, low 30s at idle. Under full load, the CPU didn't get anywhere near kind of 60 degrees, so that's absolutely fine. It is a moderate CPU, and the cooler obviously is very good, but tons and tons of airflow, not restricted at all. And actually at the top here, you can, even though the fans are on a particularly low speed at the moment, the system itself is essentially silent. You can feel the airflow coming through. Now I have removed most of the magnetic filters from the top and also from underneath, etc. So yeah, it is breathing very, very nicely. And overall, I've got to say, it was a very nice case. I'm not entirely convinced on the colour. That is going to be a very, very personal choice, as are most things in the PC kind of performance market. Do like the colour, do like the components, it's all very much mix and match. But as the beauty, if I was to summarise this case, it is very, very flexible. You don't have to have all this glass and all the sections on. You can just have it pretty much bare if you can spend the time doing cable management and you've got the components to show it off. But even if you don't have it, with the system as it is now, obviously I've removed the glass from the side because of reflections, etc. But yeah, otherwise it just breathes very nicely, very cool. If you're looking at doing an extreme build with lots of radiators and a water pump and all that kind of stuff, I think you're going to be extremely pleased with this case. So let me know what you think about this one in the comment section below. £200 for this case, very convertible, very flexible, lots of modifications can be done to it. What do you think about it? Let me know. I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.